Alrighty, so this is a basic intro on JavaScript. I decided to start with JavaScript because the internet, every browser, every website, basically I said browser, every website you access is JavaScript, right? So the front end of the website is JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. That defines an actual website, right? So, well, it may not be generated on the back end. Um, I mean, it's generated differently in the back end, but it's still in the front end. When I say the front end, I'm talking about when you open up Internet Explorer, when you open up Google Chrome or Firefox, the web page you see is generated with HTML, and to add some, dynamic content, it's JavaScript, and to style it to make it look beautiful, it's CSS with some images and so forth. So the best way to start learning is JavaScript, right? I would say HTML, but JavaScript and HTML, I would say it goes hand in hand, especially if when you start developing. HTML is simple, so I'm gonna start off with JavaScript. So I have right now, this is a plain vanilla Windows machine. I have no um, development software on it at all. So what I normally do when I start off is I get an editor, and I used to like Sublime 2 version 2. That was a great editor. And then I played with like everyone else, several editors out there. When I say editors, I'm just an IDE, integrated development environment, because it's a lot. It's better to use an IDE, an actual coding editor, than just plain old Notepad, because you're not going to get six syntax highlighting or code assistance like that. You're not going to get anything. Um, so, because if you forget a command, the editor can help you out, and you would get that command instead of googling it or going to the documentation. So, what I normally do, I just go here, bring up my favorite browser, and I just go to I just do Visual Studio Code, which is in my opinion the best editor out there. So I'm going to download Visual Studio. I'm on a Windows machine, so I'm going to hit that and let it do its job. So it's going to download the editor. Once it downloads, I'm going to install it. And for now, I'm just going to add, after the installation, I'm going to install one package to it, and that's it, and I'm good to go. Um, so I'm going to open that, and we can close the browser once it opens up. So make sure it's actually starting. There we go. Just accept it, defaults, next, next. What's got here? Yeah, next, and everything's fine. All right. So once that's complete, and then we have the program installed, we're gonna launch it, and we're gonna install one extension or one add-on to it. And the beauty of this program, there's just like every other editor, they have multiple add-ons that you can make it do extra things. You don't want to add too many add-ons and make it bloated and slow. But so there we go. Get out of here with that. Okay. Where it's asking me if I want to get. Yeah, I'm not gonna just close all these. Close this for now. Close this for now. So this is a basic editor that we're going to use. Okay, so remember, you went to download this, just do Visual Studio Code. All right, make sure you actually getting it from the actual Voodoo. Make sure you're getting it from visualstudio.com. Make sure you see actually say code.visualstudio.com, and then you can see it. Make sure this is the actual site, and then click download. Okay, so we have it, and you see this little icon here where it says extensions. Click that, right? So you have a list of multiple extensions. So what I normally do, I want to install the program called live server. There you go. So basically what this program does, it has a very tiny footprint, a small server that it will launch for you within Visual Studio Code. Is running within Visual Studio Code, and if you want to test your programs, basic testing, that it requires a back-end server, so you can test your JavaScript code and so forth, instead of just opening the HTML from the file system. You can test it in the browser. Okay, so I'm gonna show you a quick demonstration once that's installed. So once it's installed, I believe it's going to require reload. Yep, it says reload. So reload it. So it's going to close and reopen it. Okay, and it's still asking me, don't show me this again. Okay, so we have that. Okay, so now what I normally do, create a directory, right? So I like to create directories within my user profile, right? I only have one preview, so I like creating it within here. So I'm gonna just create a folder in here, right click, folder, type code, because that's what I'm gonna put all my programs within there, right? And then from here I'm gonna create another folder, and I'm gonna just call this JavaScript, right, underscore basics, right? So this is where I'm gonna keep all my my JavaScript files, HTML files, and everything else that we're going to require for this tutorial. Okay, so for now I can open that and I can go directly to that, right? So what was that? Users and my name, and then it was code, and then it was this folder here, right? So we're going to open this folder. I'm going to select it. Okay, so right now we don't have anything in it because it's empty, right? So for what I normally do when I start off and I start testing, I just create two files, right? One is going to be an HTML file and a JavaScript file, right? And I'm not going to put any folder structures or anything like that. You know, down the line we could get into structure, the way how we're going to make it look. You know, we're going to put all our JavaScript files within a JS or a JavaScript folder. You know, so we can make it more modular, and then we can easily eyeball where the information, where the files are located. But for now, for this tutorial, for this testing, we're just going to do it from right here. So I'm just going to, you can either right click and select new file, or we have an icon right here for new file. Okay, and you can start typing the name of the file, which is going to be index, and you can name it anything you like. Just remember that's the file that you named it for the HTML file. So in general, the main file for HTML is index.html. Okay, so HTML, that's the main file. Okay, and this time let's right click and let's create a new file, and this is going to be the JavaScript file. So app.js, and this is these are very popular naming conventions, especially when we're dealing with other frameworks. And I'm not going to even get into frameworks right now, but app.js is a popular naming convention for a basic for a starting point for a main entry file for JavaScript. Okay, so we have that. Okay, so we have two files. We have one index and one app.js. There's nothing in either or, right? It's empty. So we look here in our directories, we see we have two files, app and index. Okay, so for the index, we can start typing into HTML. And again, that HTML, that's boilerplate code. You know when you have to type HTML, opening HTML, opening all the opening headers and body, and it's just time consuming. So the beauty of this Visual Studio, and a lot of other editors have this built-in feature, is that you can just it has this ability where you can actually type in some code or combination of letters and so forth, keystrokes, and where you can just autocomplete an actual whatever you want, right? So for here, if I want to, I can either type HTML, and you see I have a list of everything I want to type. So HTML, just basic HTML, and all the way to HTML5. Okay, or if you want HTML5, right? If you want to autocomplete the HTML, just hold down the shift key and press number 1 while you're holding on the shift key and get that exclamation point, right? Once you get that, you just hit enter. Boom, look at this. I have a fully HTML document, right? HTML5 document, because we have the doc type here. So this is a good document, right? It's good, HTML, simple. So within here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to reference this app.js within here, and the way we do that, we do that with script tags. So we would do script source, right, equals, and then normally this actually finds it for you if you do the quotes, and there it is, right? This is it. because it's in the root directory, so it knows this is the one it assumes this is what we want, right? So and then we hit that. So this is it right here, right? Save it. I did Control S to save it, or you can just go to File, Save. Okay. So once again, Control S. You hold down the Control key and then press S, and it actually saves the document. Or you can go to File, Save, and you see right here it says Control S. Okay. So this is we referencing app.js, right? So we're referencing this, right? So that's one way we can do it, right? We don't have to reference it. We can just write JavaScript right here, right? We just got to put it within script tags, close it, and then we can start we can just start typing JavaScript right in here. So I could do a quick test to show you. I can just do an alert and then just say hey there, oops, right? And then you end it. In JavaScript, you always and people that's like people say, oh, there's no need right now, this is the future and whatnot, you don't have to end it with semicolons because it would run no matter what. But I think just end it with a semicolon. Just stick with what works, right? So then Control S to save it. Okay, so what's going to happen is that the web browser, there's a built-in JavaScript engine that's built into every web browser. It's going to go through this document and it's going to execute it, right? It's going to load anything that we have in here, which we don't. It's going to load it into the memory, and it's going to actually take this and it's going to execute this also, right? So if I open this, it's going to, what do you think is going to happen, right? You're going to get an alert pop-up box, and it's going to say hey there. So now to run this, we can either go here and just double click this and it will open it up, right? But that's not what we want, right? Because we installed that live that live server, right? We installed that, right? So we install this baby here. So what we want to do in order to run it, we just right click on the HTML, make sure we inside HTML file, just right click anywhere, and there we go. You see this right here? Now you can actually, if you remember this shortcut, this is Alt plus L and blah blah blah, or you can just right click and just open with live server. Okay, and it's going to open it up and boom, there you go. You see it? It opened it up with this 1.27, which is a local computer, and this port 5500, and it opened up the index.html, and then we got this pop-up hi there. Hit OK, it goes away. We refresh, hi there again. Awesome, right? So, and then also you see here live server is running. Okay, and then now in order to stop it, if you don't want it running anymore, you can just right click and you can click stop it, or you can click this little icon right here and it'll stop it also. Okay, so now I'm gonna just get to a quick this is going to be an extremely quick benefit tutorial, like what's actually going on here, right? So a lot of developers, we like Google Chrome, and some people like Firefox, whatever, to do development, but Google Chrome is by far the best to do develop and test, right, and debug, right? Because if you right click, we have this little option for inspect, right? And I don't like it up here. Let's put it, I gotta remember how to there you go, put it in the bottom. Okay, so and then we hit console, right? This is where we're going to spend most of our time, in the console when we're developing. Okay, so right here in this console, consider this like a terminal within the browser, and we can actually type JavaScript right within the terminal. Right here we can start typing, and like any other your little console emulator or whatever terminal, we can do some basic math, 5 plus 5, 10 times 5, and so forth. We could do math, right? Hit this little thing to clear it. Okay, and then also just like that, we can do JavaScript in here. We can just say hello, right? And there you go. We can do JavaScript just like here. So we basically don't need and don't worry about this undefined. This undefined is basically so it's down the line. It's just not understanding that it's not, we haven't assigned a value to the variable, and because it's loading into memory. Don't worry about it. We just testing here. So clear that. So and actually, you know, I'm not gonna let's go into the editor. That's why we actually got it, right? So let's do it here. Let's get rid of this here. So I could do a simple, right? So here, just like we wrote down here, we can use this to output, you know, some log information that we need. And in order to do that, we use console. We could just start typing console.log. Okay, we take that function, a method, whatever, and then this is going to be whatever we put in here. Now we can use single quotes or double quotes, and it really doesn't matter. And then we type whatever we put in there. That's a string in JavaScript. In most languages, in anything that's in quotes are strings, and it's going to output here, right? So let's say, hey John, right? Save it, right? And it refreshed, right? And why is it? There you go. Hey John. Let's see. Did I keep something in here? No, I didn't keep anything there. Okay. And there you go. Hey John. It popped up, right? So it is doing the live reload because we have the live service. So now if I put, let's say, hey Rob, and then whenever you see this reloads, I'm doing Control S on my keyboard. It's just like file save, and you can see this little icon here, that little circle, that white circle. That means it's not saved, and you see it up here as well. That little black, it's not saved. Watch, this icon goes away, and this little black little icon right here, it will go away. I'm gonna do a Control S. There you go. You see that? And look, hi Rob. Oh, hey Rob. Okay, so that's just basic JavaScript, but you can do a lot more, and I'm going to show you what I mean by manipulating the DOM, right? So right now we have this HTML, right? There's nothing in here, right? Nothing here. I don't have any tags, no, not anything. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a header, a h1 tag here, right? Dynamically, right? So what I'm going to do, first I'm going to get that. So I'm going to create a variable, and we create variables, or we declare a variable actually by using the var keyword and the name of the variable, and I'm going to call it let's just say my h1, right, equals, and then equal to what? And then what I wanted to do, I wanted to create that h1. So it's going to be the same as if I go here and I actually do this. This is h1 and put some text, you know. So if I do this, oops, actually, okay, it's gonna open a h1 tag here in bold, you know, header 1. There you go, in my world, right? So we don't want that. We want to do it dynamically. So basically, when we load this HTML piece, it's basically an empty shell, but it's getting the information from this JavaScript file. So in order to do that, we're going to get the document. Okay, now the document, again, if we go here, elements, right, this is a document right here. This, see a whole HTML thing here. We see HTML all the way down here. Oops, you have the headers. Why I can't expand this? You have the body and you have the HTML. This is the document. It starts with HTML and it ends with HTML. So it's basically this entire window here. Okay, so in order to do that, oops, what I'm doing, in order to do that, we can just get it from here. We can go document dot, we're going to create. So create element, right? So element, again, is basically tags, you know, like these are tags, you know, HTML, head, you know, meta, title, body, and then, you know, we have multiple other HTML tags, you know, that we have a lot of tags for HTML, especially HTML5. So I'm gonna create an element, right? And then that create an element is a function. So, and with function, you got to put it like that, close it, right? So I mean, again, we end it with a semicolon. We end each statement with a semicolon, and then we give it like it's a string. It takes a string, and what element we want to create? We want to create a h1. So it's a h1, heading 1. Okay. then we're gonna go space, and then now what we're gonna do, so we already have that h1. Now we're gonna want to put it into the body. We want to put it into the document, right, into the HTML. But I already said body, so we're gonna put it in the body. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we can say I guess we can just do it directly, right, because I think we already have it. So yeah, so let's try. So I can go document dot document dot body, right? Would it be body? I'm gonna append it to the body. Document dot body, then append child, right? So basically, this is a child. This h1 is going to be a child of the body of the body tag. So it's going to be like right here. Okay, append child, and then end it with a semicolon. And then what we want, what's the child? This my h1 variable. Okay, so when we reference the variable, we don't have to put it in any, because it's not a string. Because if we put it's not a string, it's an actual variable, so we can just call it the way we created here, my h1, and there it is right here, my h1. So in theory, if I hit Control S to save it, well, actually nothing would happen, right? It's gonna, well, let's just hit h1, save it. Nothing really happened, right? Because we don't see anything. But did it now? If we go right click, view page source, we don't worry about all this JavaScript stuff. This is created by the that live reserver thing, so we don't have to worry about it. But let's look up here. We don't see any h1 tags, right? But there is an h1 tags, because remember, it's not actual source code, right? It's not in here. It's not source code. It's created dynamically. So in order to see that generated dynamically generated content, we have to click on elements. Okay, so then if we expand this, we should see a h1 tag, and there we go, h1, you know, and you see it up there, h1. So we actually created these h1 elements, these h1 tags, so we have it, so no issues. So now we created the h1 tag and we appended it, but let's do something a little more with it, right? Because let's add text to it. So within that h1 tag, I'm gonna create a variable first, and I'm gonna call it my p for my paragraph, right? My p equals, and then again, I'm just creating a paragraph, you know, because it's best practices, you know, to create, you know, valid HTML, you know, and then we want a p. Okay, we're gonna create a p tag, a p okay, do we have that? So, and then what I want to do is I want to say, oh no, I don't even have to close that, right? What is this? This is a h1. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a h1. We don't need a, I thought it was a div. Okay, forget it. We don't need a h1. We can just do it right here, in fact, because we have a h1. Then, and I love code assist, because if I hit dot, then look at this beauty. We have all this available content we can use, but what we're looking for is inner HTML. Inner HTML. So that inner HTML is this right here. Okay. Oops. I'm not doing this. Oh, so what I'm doing, if you don't, if I'm typing h1 and if you type h1 and just press the tab key, it auto completes the opening and ending tag, you know, instead of just, you know, manually typing and closing and so forth. It's faster. So hey there, this text between the h1, this is considered the inner HTML, because it's inside the inner tags. So it's the inner HTML. So we want this information here, right? This value. So what we're saying is document.create element. So we creating an h1 tag, and then we're saying, okay, and here's the HTML we want inside of it. So I'm gonna say inner HTML equals, and I don't know if this is best practice to do so. Can you do something like that? Man, let's try it, because, you know, it's like I'm saying this, equals this, and then equals, well, let's just keep going. Let's see how if it works. So I'm gonna say today was a good day, and then remember to end it with a semicolon. Okay, now hopefully if I hit Control S, you will see here on the screen today was a good day. And no, because append child, no, blah blah blah. Okay, we got there. Because you can't do it like that, right? That's just nonsense. Okay, so I can still take that though, right? I can still take that, right? I can do it with here, right? Let me see. I still have the inner, so I can do it here that way. So basically, I already defined the H1, which is called my H1, and then now I'm saying my H1 inner HTML is today was a good day. And now if I do a Control S, today was a good day. There you go. It's the magic right here. That's the magic, you know. And look, we didn't enter any HTML extra information here. So the beauty of this, we can keep everything separate when separate. There's this is just learning, but if my suggestion, keep HTML within HTML and JavaScript. Don't be, it's not a good idea to have creating, only if you want to create dynamic stuff, and you can create dynamic stuff. You could create a I can do one more tutorial, last thing, so you can see how strong, and this is just basic JavaScript. This is not using any elaborate frameworks, and we're not even talking about the classes, and there's a lot of other things you could do with ES6 and so forth, but you got to learn JavaScript. You got to suffer through the basics of JavaScript. You got to learn the DOM. You got to learn everything so you can manipulate it, and then you can understand it, and you could just play around with it. And you're gonna bang your head a couple of times trying to figure out, like, how can I do this now? Like right now, I'm gonna try to do it, and I'm not too sure how to, but I'm sure it's pretty easy, right? Because JavaScript to me is easy, especially when you got a code editor that can assist you in that, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna place a button here, right? So I'm going to say place a button here, right? And I'm going to say click me, and there you go. There's a button. I'm going to say button on click. There it is. That's the on click. On click is yeah, that's fine, and we could give it a change color, and that's going to be a function. Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm just throwing crazy terms in here. A function is just something. It's another. It's like basically a code block that we're going to use, and so that we can execute. So we can have multiple commands within one code block, and we could call it to execute it, to run it. So we basically saying button on click change color, right? So basically, when we click this button, we're gonna want to change some color, whatever, right? So we got to create that function. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a function, which was change color, right? That was the name of it. Yes. So this is how you create a function followed by the name, and you define it like this with a function. And if you take anything, you put any parameters, you put it in there, but obviously we're not. This is basic. So here's a change in the colors, right? So today was a good day, right? So that's the document.body.append.mychild, right? So basically we want to take the my H1, right? So that's easy because we could just apply a style to it. So we can just say my h1 dot style, right? Is it color? Yep, color, and that's it, right? Yeah. And then let's give it a color, and let's just say red. Okay, so I'm gonna say Control S to save it, and then I'm gonna go here. Now hopefully if I click this text will turn red. There you go. It's that simple. I mean, JavaScript can be any. This is just basic, but this is just common sense. And when you get to play with it and know it, you would have to know. And of course, it may not be simple for for I know this because I know style is part of CSS, and you can do a lot with this. But let's call it pink. So that's a beautiful color. And it goes back to the default color, right? But if I click this, there it is, pink. And of course, you don't have to use word coloring, name colors. You can hit and then you can. Oh, I didn't install them. I'm gonna just do a random color. I think this will be gray. Oh golly, I can't even see that, but it's there. Yeah, but there's a color wheel that we can install, then we can get that, but we could deal with that later on. But it's awesome. And you can do a lot of other stuff with it, right? You could say my, when I click this, since we running out of time right now, I'm gonna say this. Good night. It's gonna go back to the default. Now if I click that, this should go away, and it should say good night. There you go. Okay, so that's just the basics. Remember, we installed Visual Studio Code, and that's here, and that's very helpful. You download it, install it. We install the live server, so we can actually run it within the browser instead of just opening it up here, and it would be like this. Just see this weird URL. It's not even a URL, it's just a path, but from here we can just we can just right click. We can just right click here. You can open it and it opens up as if it was actually a website. But whenever you see 127.0.0.1, that means local. That means it's local to your computer. Or if you see localhost, that means it's local to your computer. Or sometimes if you see like 000.0.1, anyways, that's besides the point. Click here, good night. Okay, remember we have this inspect. We look here for, what is this? Oh, favcon. Now it's asking for this. Come on, there you go. So favcon is just the favorites icon. I think it's why it's asking for it, because no, I don't have it. But that's just the basics of JavaScript, and I think we can do a lot more with it. Maybe send me a comment. If what do you like to see? What do we like to do? We can create an application together, a web app together. Your most boring to-do list. That's like popular when people want to create to-do lists, or a tic-tac-toe game, ping pong, whatever, something that we can learn together and do together, and or create a full website, a photo blog or something like that, something that we could actually see and manipulate. And when you start creating stuff, that's when you start thinking and you start learning, hands-on and stuff. So I want you to go look at this video and start playing with it and start experimenting with the code. And the beauty of the code is that it has auto completion, right? So you just hit the dot and look at it. You have all of this information that's part of this h1 tag, because remember, this is for the h1 tag, h1, right? So we have we can do other stuff, and then when you hit another tag like style, then when you hit this again, you have everything that's associated with that function. You know, you have everything that with that method. You have all the, I seen animation. That's awesome. And delay, like what do you know, what can we do with that? You know, so it's a lot of stuff that we can do. So with that said, I bid you adieu, and I'll see you until when we have this next tutorial. Have a blessed evening.